How do you choose a starter in Temtem? What's up? I'm Vortak, and today we're going to be talking about exactly that. But first, real quick, don't forget to subscribe as I have more Temtem videos on the way. Now, before we dive into which Temtem starter you should pick, it's important to note a couple of things. First of all, there's really no wrong choice here. Each Temtem, as you would expect, has its strengths and weaknesses, and you probably won't go wrong depending on who you pick. I wouldn't stress this decision too much if you are. The second thing you should know is that in Temtem, you will be able to catch every starter eventually, and you'll get the whole bunch. You'll collect them all, as they say. So again, no wrong choices here. But I'm going to go over first all the starters, and then I'll tell you who I picked and how that's working out for me. Now, in these games, if you're the kind of person who likes to play it safe, who likes to have someone a little more tanky, then Crystal should probably be your choice. This is a Crystal-type Temtem, oddly enough, and is weak against Fire and Earth types. Crystal has very strong defense stats and therefore makes for a great tanking Temtem. As for Temtem you could pair Crystal with, later on, at level 9, Crystal actually learns a move called Crystal Dust. And if you pair Crystal with a Wind-type Temtem, which you catch some Wind types pretty early on in the game, you can actually get a nice bonus from using the Crystal Dust move. Going over pairings is something I would like to do a little more in depth later on, as they get a bit crazy and complicated. And again, not a lot of wrong choices there. It's just one of those things. It depends on the kind of fighter you are. But I did want to point out that pretty early in owning Crystal, you will get level 9, you will get this move, and it's just kind of nice to have a pairing early on that works pretty well with a certain move you enjoy. Next up on the list is Smazy. Smazy is a melee type, works very well with other melee types if you pair them up, weak against digital and mental types. I've only encountered one digital Temtem in the game, and it's actually right after you choose your starter, but I can attest to the fact that Smazy is in fact very weak to digital, because this is actually the one I picked for myself. But Smazy has decent stats all around, strength and defense, all that stuff, just pretty even all around. At level 12, Smazy will learn a move called Show Off, and if you have another melee type with you, you will get a boost from using it. At a certain point in the game, you can pick up a move called Misogi, and if you give it to Smazy and then pair Smazy with a water type, that can also lead to a nice pairing, a nice strong bonus for you. If you're a little bit confused about the different pairings and moves, just know that whenever there's a move that pairs well with another Temtem, it will actually tell you. There's a tooltip that shows this information. So if I'm throwing a little too much info at you, don't worry. This is stuff that you'll start to catch on to as time goes on. Last but not least, in the starter I wish I had chose was Hauchik. Hauchik is a mental type Temtem and is weak against crystal types. If you're the kind of person who likes to go in and pack a punch the second the battle starts, this is the Temtem for you. That is the style of player that I am. At level 11, Hauchik will learn Energy Manipulation, and if you pair with a Nature Temtem, that'll lead to a nice boost. And at level 41, which, yes, is quite a ways up, you can pair Hauchik with a Fire type and use High Pressure Water, believe it or not, for a nice boost. So, as I said, I picked Smazy as my starter because I just thought he looked pretty cool, and I thought it'd be fun to have a melee type on hand. And so far, it's been okay. Smazy kind of you can tell has some pretty just base stats. Smazy's not particularly amazing at anything, and not particularly weak to anything. Like I said, I haven't run into too many digital opponents. And when I have a mental opponent, then yeah, just don't have Smazy out there. And it's pretty straightforward. But as time has gone on, I've found that Smazy has been kind of hard to continue leveling. At this point in the game, Smazy's actually stored in my computer system, and I'm not using my starter, which is a big no-no. When I play games like Pokemon, I always use my starter pretty much throughout the whole game, so I felt pretty bad about benching Smazy. But like I said, it's been kind of hard to level him up, and I would say that I do wish I had chosen Hauchik, because Hauchik does fit to my playstyle better, which is why I'm making this video for anyone who just really didn't know who to pick based on their playstyle. So as a quick refresher, Crystal is good with defense, Howchick is good with strength, and Smazzy for if you're just kind of middle of the road. Those would be my suggestions. That's how I would approach this choice. But as I said at the beginning, you'll be able to get all of these Temtem as time goes on. Crystal's, in fact, the first one you'll run into, so weigh that into your decision as well. Since Crystal is found so early, you might just narrow this down to Smazzy or Howchick at the start, and then, you know, find Crystal and you'll be good to go if you do decide, oh, I really wish I had gotten that defensive Temtem. As of right now, I've been enjoying Temtem a whole lot, and the game is linked down below if you haven't gotten yourself a copy yet. I would highly recommend at least looking into it. I do plan on doing a review here very soon. In fact, I want them to be my next Temtem video. So if you want to see my full review on the game, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button if you've enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. Catch you later.